honor of Memorial Day this coming Monday, we're having a very unique episode this week, centering on politics and foreign affairs. I'm Gavin Berger.
And I'm Johnny Donovan. We'll kick it off right after we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Up first, we're going to the Middle East. Please welcome Colonel Richard Francis.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, I'm aware, I don't know if everyone at Staples is aware, but you were in the military and you fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, is that correct?
Just Iraq.
Just Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that like? Can you just tell me a little bit about...
I arrived in Iraq in June of 2007. It was the height of what was called the surge operation at the time. Things had deteriorated drastically in Iraq. The country had really spiraled downward into a full-blown civil war at that time. So the whole idea of the surge was to put more troops on the ground and to use them in a different way to protect the population so we could give time and space for our soldiers to do their work. And the most dangerous place to be in Iraq at that time was on the roads because of these things called IEDs, or improvised explosive devices. So my job was to be as aware of that situation as I could using the section I had. I had about 14 soldiers that worked for me to keep our commander up to date where he could expect to be attacked and how he could expect to be attacked so he could keep his soldiers as safe as possible.
And what cities? Did you travel a lot?
I did. I traveled around the country pretty extensively.
So how does it make you feel talking and learning about the people of Iraq that now a lot of them, like they have the second largest city in control, Mosul.
Mm-hmm.
How does it make you feel that those people are now under ISIS control?
Well, it's not surprising to me. And it's not surprising to me because the Iraqi government, when we were there, and to this day, continues to be a very corrupt government. Everything is sectarian. It falls along Shia and Sunni fault lines. When I was there, there was a Shia president who marginalized the Sunnis. As soon as we left, Sunni services were cut off. Sunnis were arrested. They were kicked out of the military. They were some of the most experienced military leaders we had, and they were in charge of large units, and they were battle-hardened. They knew what they were doing. And as soon as we left, the president at the time, President Maliki, removed most of those leaders in the military, and he put in his own political operatives who had no military experience at all. So the first contact they had with ISIS, those leaders who had no military experience fled.
Mm-hmm. And did you actually go to Syria?
No, I was not in Syria at all.
Okay. Well, we actually have a former student, Megan, who did go to Syria. She spent a lot of time there when she was studying abroad, and I interviewed her a couple days ago, and let's cut to that. Thank you, Mr. Francis.
That's it. Okay, that was too easy. Okay.
Good morning, Staples. I am here with Megan Laney, class of 2009, and she has a very interesting story. She went to University of Aleppo in Syria in 2011, right before the Arab Spring protests started. So, hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Some of you may know me. I've been speaking at Ms. Shager and Ms. Gillen's classes for the past 5 years since I got back from Syria. And I went to college knowing that I wanted to learn Arabic, and I knew nothing about Syria. So my sophomore year, I decided to study abroad there and did not know that I was going to end up watching history unfold as the protests began from the moment I set foot in the country. It was an amazing place to live, and the people were so welcoming and friendly. And after a few weeks, the protests against the government began as the people began demanding more freedoms, like the freedom of speech and more rights, because the president, Bashar al-Assad, kind of ran the country as a dictatorship. And at first, I didn't think anything was going to come of it. He had a pretty good lock on the country, but little by little, it grew as more people got upset with how he was responding to the nonviolent protests. He would send his military out into the street to shoot at the protesters and arrest them, and responded with such extreme force that the whole country started to get on board, especially after March 2011 when this one man who had been involved in the anti-government protests, his son, Hamza Khatib, was kidnapped and brutally tortured to death as a punishment to his father. After that, the whole country got behind the revolution, and all around there were protests in Aleppo, Damascus, Daraa. All the major cities got behind this one child martyr and really became involved in the rebellion. A lot of my friends have either had family members that were killed or were killed themselves. For example, a few months after I left Syria, during the final exams at Aleppo University, the government bombed the university to have maximum casualties. And nowadays, the protesters have obviously turned violent themselves in order to fight back against the extreme force used by the government.
So do you want to talk about just a little bit about the work you do now with refugees and Syrians in America?
The U.S. has started accepting some families to come here, and one family was actually just placed in Wilton, and I hear that one will be coming to Westport very soon. So there is a nonprofit in New Haven called Iris that I work with. I help interpret for them and raise money for them. And I also work at their after-school program, which helps the children of these families in Wilton, New Haven, and around Connecticut learn English. So what I'm doing now is a GoFundMe to buy high-quality, durable headphones for the kids so that when they're using the online English learning site, they can really focus on what they're listening to and hear the correct pronunciation so that they can learn English as quick as possible. So if you're ever interested in working with one of these charities, volunteering your time, or anything you can give, I would really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And if you want more information, you can of course ask Mrs. Shager or Miss Gilland.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Megan for a full...
Thanks for that interview, Johnny. As we focus on our own country's future, it's important to consider what's going on abroad as well. Back home, the Connecticut primary is long over, but last month when candidates were out in full force in our own state, Eli had the opportunity to be a part of a press pool at a Q&A with Chelsea Clinton in Hartford, and got a chance to speak with her afterwards.
Good morning, Staples. In the weeks leading up to the Connecticut primary, which happened on April 26th, several of the candidates visited our home state. John Kasich in Glastonbury, Trump in Bridgeport and Hartford, Bernie Sanders in Bridgeport, and Hillary Clinton all over the state. At an event with her daughter, Chelsea Clinton, in Hartford, I was able to join the press pool and catch up with Chelsea afterward. The event was great, with words spoken from State Representative Brandon McGee.
It has been absolutely amazing campaigning on behalf of our next president, Miss Hillary Rodham Clinton.
CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers.
I wasn't quite as successful as some other Southerners I know, but we'll be back, and now I get a chance to work for CNN.
And the mayor of Hartford.
We are so honored to have Chelsea Clinton in town. If you're in Hartford, not just in Hartford, but in the 06120 zip code in North.
As well as Mrs. Clinton herself.
When my mom was First Lady of Arkansas, she brought the very first public early childhood education program to Arkansas, a program called HIPPY, so it's a pretty easy name to remember. This is also an area where the Supreme Court has real relevance. I mean, we saw the Supreme Court hear a challenge to President Obama's executive actions to keep families together here in the United States, to ensure that children who are Americans have their full equal rights. The case that the Supreme Court is hearing has implications for 4 to 5 million people who are here working hard for lives of greater dignity and opportunity and safety for themselves and their families. And so my mother has said unequivocally that she would move on comprehensive immigration reform within her first 100 days.
So, kind of in the spirit of potentially electing our first female president, are there any daughters of politicians that you think you could see run for office at some point?
Oh gosh, I'm often asked whether I would ever want to run for office. And for me, right now the answer to that question is no. And the answer to that question is no because I'm really lucky in that I live in a city, in a state, in a country where I support my elected leaders, all the leaders that I could vote for. I love my city councilwoman, I love my public advocate, I love my mayor in New York, and it just goes up from there. As you can tell from what we talked about earlier today, I'm clearly a big fan of the president and of my mom, who's running to succeed President Obama. I hope, though, that it's a question that is being asked of young people across our country, of even little girls and still little boys, because I do think that who runs and holds office at every level of government really matters. So I hope that there are, kind of in the context of your question, lots of little girls and young women, regardless of what choices their parents have made, who are thinking about making the choice of running for public office themselves.
Thank you, Staples. Thanks, Chelsea, for the interview. And if you have not yet registered to vote in the general election and you are eligible, please, please, please do that as soon as you possibly can. Thank you.
Thanks, Eli. The Laramie Project 10 Years Later just finished up this past weekend, but that's not the last Staples Players show of this year. Harvey, directed by graduating senior Vignesh Namasivayam, kicks off soon. I got a chance to speak with Vig. Let's take a look. Hey Staples. Staples Players' last production of the year is going to be in a couple weeks. Harvey, directed by Vignesh Namasivayam. I got the chance to talk with him and two of the actors in the show. Let's take a look.
Hi everyone, I'm Vignesh Namasivayam, President and Assistant Director for Staples Players. Currently, I am directing a studio production of Harvey at Tokay Hall. The show is about this man, Elwood P. Dowd, played by Aaron Samuels, who also played the man in Cher in The Drowsy Chaperone. So Elwood P. Dowd is this man who sees this giant bunny, but no one else sees this bunny. And the play is basically about trying to get him into a mental hospital and how his family is dealing with this giant bunny, and then a comedy of errors ensues when Elwood just wanders out of the hospital. It's really funny because of the ridiculous nature of the topic with the giant bunny. There are a lot of funny gags that happen, and the characters are just kind of ridiculous.
Hi, I'm Jordan Goodness, and I play Vita Louise Simmons in Harvey.
And I'm Aaron Samuels, and I play Elwood P. Dowd. Yeah, I mean, the show's really a blast. Obviously, the premise is that a character's imagining a giant bunny, so it's really quite silly.
It's hilarious, the actors are doing a great job, and there are some really cool things. The shows are Thursday, June 2nd, Friday, June 3rd, both at 7:30, and then our final performance is June 5th, Sunday at 5 o'clock p.m. Tickets are $10 for everyone. I really hope that you guys can come. Thank you.
There's a lot of laughs. It's...
Ha! Okay.
There's also some drama. You're gonna feel things. Chills.
Thanks for the interview, Staples. I hope you go and see Staples Players' last production of the year. It looks like it's going to be a really funny show. It's going to be on these dates. Now let's throw it back to the host.
Thanks, Gavin. Again, that's June 2nd at 7:30, June 3rd at 7:30, and June 5th at 5 p.m., all at Tokay Hall. The Voice is coming to an end, and as you all know, one of our own is in the Final Four. Allison Porter, former Staples student and Players star, performed Tuesday night for the last time on the Voice stage. Let's take a look.
Staples, big news if you haven't heard. Allison Porter won The Voice this week. Here's a look at some of her performances from Monday and Tuesday night.
There's a time for us, someday a time for us, time together with time to spare, time to learn, time to care. Cause I can give you hope, but I can't show you how. Only you can turn the light on, find your way back now. It may be dark and winding, but it leads you home. I know, yes I know. There's no shame, love, in falling apart.
Christine.
You wanna give up, take a chance. When the party's over, you should have the last dance. If there's no direction, then you can't see.
Great job, Allison. You've worked really hard to get where you are, and you're doing an amazing job. We know that this is just the beginning for you, and we can't wait to see where this leads you, but don't forget where you came from. Congratulations, Allison. Staples officially has a winner of The Voice among our alumni. That's our show, Staples.
Happy Memorial Day, and remember not only to enjoy your day off on Monday, but also remember our veterans.
We'll be back next week with a very special show from Honeycutt and Zito.
Good morning, Staples.
Go ahead, go